Only Murders in the Building, Season 1, Episode 1. Scene 2, Introducing the Protagonists. After getting a quick glimpse of the protagonists in the opening scene, in this one, not exactly one scene, we get to know them. Instead of giving a generic narration of characters as if giving an interview with their names slapped on the screen, all three protagonists talk about the central theme of the story, that is, murder. More specifically, how New York City is unsafe. Each character is introduced as what they were 2 months ago with their individual song. We hear their internal monologue while they walk on a random street approaching their residence. If a character is properly developed, then we can learn a lot about them just by watching them walk. Further, a comparison always helps, since they are introducing three characters. Since we don't get their name in this scene, I'll call them by their actor name. The first character to be introduced is played by Steve Martin. His song is Manhattan by Jan and Dean. He seems pretty comfortable living in NYC because he is a crime aficionado. He believes much scarier are the boondocks, areas of the city where very few people live. We see a quick interaction with a woman who's not at all fond of him even though he is polite, and we get introduced to the building where he lives, the Arconia, a huge brick-shaped structure on the roadside. Steve seems delusional. Then, he is stopped in the street by a fan who recognizes him as, well, the fan doesn't say. Steve says, "I'm Brazo," highlighting his delusion about his popularity. Here's a creative bit. The fan talks about his childhood memory with his father watching Steve's show and his father's poor health now because of ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a nervous system disease that weakens muscles and impacts physical function. Although he's talking about himself, the subtext here is that Brazo should let go his delusion. The final blow to his ego, I've seen this trope being used before, he is handed the camera to take a picture of the couple. Another thinking bit here is, the guy does all the talking and we only get to know him. So why is that woman, who it's unclear whether is his wife or girlfriend, there? I think it's simply to justify him making Brazos take the picture. This one quick interaction turns happy Steve Martin into sad. We learn a lot about him, like he's an actor, famous a long time back but not anymore. Still, he is proud of himself. I feel that's good writing. As Steve gives a depressed look, watching the couple walk away, we get a generation shock by the song "Did a full 180, crazy." This is one creative scene transition technique I've observed a lot recently, where the sound of the next scene overlaps with the tail end of the current scene for a smooth transition. The song works here because it serves as a background to support Steve's reaction and at the same time introduces the next character, played by Selena Gomez. Selena is a young, carefree youngster detached from the world even though she is walking on the street. While Steve seeks validation, Selena does not care who is saying what to her. She has her big headphones on, tinted glasses, and hands in the pocket that amplify her "I don't care" attitude. She is a character in contrast to Steve's, as she hates being in NYC, but is there for some reason. 2,000 women report assaults here every year. She knows this fact means she cares. She also speaks about how living in the city forces you to binge Dateline to find out how not to end up on Dateline. It's a cool sentence for those who are familiar with Dateline. It's a TV show that covers true crime stories. But what about those who don't know what Dateline is? That's why the order of lines become important. She talks about crime in NYC first, setting it as the context. So even though one might have to later Google what is Dateline, Without searching, one can deduce that it is a TV show related to crime. I want to highlight the choice of costumes as well. While Steve's character wears dark, dull clothes in order to try to blend in, Selina's character's dress screams she wants to be noticed but not attract anyone. A push-pull technique to say, back off or I'll kill you. I don't know why, but her dress gives me lioness vibes. Perhaps the yellow-brown color is a conscious choice too. She then speaks of a recurring dream where she is in bed. She opens her eyes and a masked man is sitting on her. She immediately flips him over and stabs him with her knitting needles. This is her defense mechanism as a mental practice to ensure that she is prepared for any unfortunate circumstance. Now, why show this scene instead of her talking about it while she walks? Firstly, because she will have to walk and talk a lot, and her walking scene with just the monologue might become boring. Another is to establish her weapon of choice. In storytelling, we are taught that heroes cannot be lucky. If the protagonist finds herself in a tough situation, she can't just open a drawer and take a gun out of it and use it. That's poor writing. Instead, the gun has to be established, that it is there, in advance before the need for it arises. So this scene is a setup that will pay off in the future. This kind of contrast makes perfect chemistry for the interactions these two characters will have. They are perfect partners in solving murder mysteries. But why have a third one? I believe, irrespective of the age gap, whenever two strangers, a man and a woman, are shown as the lead, the audience naturally expects there to be a romantic subplot between them. To avoid that, we have the third character played by Martin Short. He is introduced by the song Hey Herberman Hey. Another old man but very different from Steve's character. While Steve is the silent type, he is loud, which is apparent from his bright purple long coat. The previous two characters are sure of their opinion about the city they are in, but this one asks, NYC, what is it about you? He considers himself to be an orphan who is still finding his identity. Martin's character is an optimist, contrary to the delusional one. Nothing else screams louder, the person is old, than calling the internet the World Wide Web. He speaks of a show, a play, and music Clair de Lune. Seems that he is quite specific about what he likes, which is classy, far from being a crime aficionado. This is one more thing to learn. When there are two characters of the same kind, that is white, old, man, of the same profession, class, etc., there's a fear of them mirroring each other because, to some extent, their needs and related actions will be the same. Hence, it is necessary to create a clear distinction, which they have done in Steve's and Martin's characters. I like the fact that they visualized the play in black and white, where a man is climbing the stairs. He keeps falling but finds a way to get up. That's life. A beautiful motivational philosophy to share with the audience. The smile on Martin's face in response to that is to affirm that we audience must react the same way. Martin is blissfully picturing that moment, seeing himself in that place when he is rudely interrupted by a car that is about to hit him. That quick reaction of his is beautiful and tells a lot about that character in an instant. First, this shows us that the monologue each character performs isn't just words overlapped with them randomly walking. They are actually thinking about it at that moment. While Steve and Selina's characters would prefer to keep their thoughts to themselves, Martin's character performs even his internal monologues for the audience. That's why he does not realize the dangers of daydreaming and lashes out at the car driver. He's not angry because the car was about to hit him. He is angry because a very beautiful moment of his daydreaming was interrupted. When introducing three characters, it could get monotonous and boring. Hence, their side interactions are in descending amounts of time. Steve gets a full conversation. Selena gets to recollect her quick dream with some action, and all Martin is given is one loud reaction. Still, we learn what we need to know about them. This shows how much time and effort must have gone into structuring and writing this seemingly simple scene. The final hitting line speaks of the inciting incident, that is the moment that triggers the plot, is delivered by Martin saying, "Just when it's all starting to feel the same, that's when you get hit by something you never saw coming." As a viewer, whenever I watch a TV show or a movie, I wonder, why did the story begin here? Why not before? Why not after? The answer to that question in relation to only murders in the building is what he says in the above line while entering his building. It's like the purpose of the show is not just to tell a good story, but to teach us what makes a story good. This is all we need to know about them before the story begins. Although we don't know their names, we know exactly who they are. 3 misfits of the puzzle called Arconia. Thank you. This is a commentary video where I will talk about the story scene-wise. So if it is something that interests you, please consider subscribing to this channel for more such discussions.